at the top level. And he continues to do that. He's the regional manager, diagnostics, 54 Gen. And he's also a seasoned seller. Am I permitted to use so we've been privileged to work together, and he's an award-winning faculty member, teaching entrepreneurs how to make sales to happen. And off the screen, I've told him that this masterclass is actually for me, and I know it's for you as well. It's for all of us because we want to understand how this whole thing works. What's the magic behind making sales to happen? And if there's anything like that, can customers come over and over? Is it possible for one to build a system where it's now your customers that are coming over and over? So I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us today, and we're privileged to have you. And what's that one secret? Is there something like that? How do you make sales happen whereby customers come again and again, and it's like an automated system? Is it possible?
Thank you, Tayo. So, well, I guess you can say it's possible, but the trick is you just have to find out what works for you. So it's like you find out your own magic.
Okay. So
it's not a one-size-fit-all. So you just need to find your own magic. And yes, it could be possible.
So I know our viewers are also eager to now understand how can we find our magic in all of these things? How can we make it possible? So for instance, recently I was engaged by an entrepreneur that complained that, look, sales are not happening. How do I cope? And there was another entrepreneur who I was informed had to cut down on the number of employees within his business because he felt that, look, sales is a lifeline of this thing that I'm doing. How can I make payments when I'm not making revenue? So what's the trick in all of these things? It's the meat of the conversation.
So I think, so in the conversation that we're just having, we talked about a couple of things. So for example, you said the person was not making sales, and which is, revenue essentially, was not coming in. So the question would be, how do you increase your revenue? So you can look at it this way, you can increase your revenue, or increase your sales, increase your turnover when you have, so the assumption here is that you have a business that sells something. So when you have maybe more customers coming in, so let's say this month, for example, you have maybe 10 customers, and the next month, you have 12 customers, and then you get to 15 customers. So that is one way. So you have new customers coming in. You can also grow where you have your existing customers, buy more than one item. So for example, you have these 10 customers, they come in, and maybe when this one comes in, he usually buys item A, this one comes in, buys item B. So when you have the first customer come in, who usually buys item A, and then you tell him, by the way, we also have item B, which you might like. We also have item C and item D. So when you have those customers also buying more items, of what you have, all right? So that way you can actually increase, your turnover. And I think that for a lot of us, especially, I think for those in the service industry, when you sell tangible products, so if, for example, let's say you have a supermarket, right, and you are saying, customers, maybe we need to, you think about it in terms of, so if your revenue is dropping, you can be looking at it and say, okay, customers are not coming, or what item should we be stocking, to make people, come and, to buy more, because that item moves, So also, even when we're in the service industry, I think that what we can also look at is to do more like a flip, kind of. And we look at our services, you design them like products. Okay. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So if you have, you can have, you know, one kind of service. So depending on what you do, so you can look at it, you know, as, you know, it's one product, you know. So let's say, if you don't mind, we can use the law firm. You know,
I'm learning.
so we can use. So if, for example, you do maybe lots of litigations, you know, so that litigation in itself, you can look at it as one product. All right. So if you have more people coming in for litigations, yes, all well and good, and yes, it might be giving certain revenue, but the question is, can you actually do more than just litigations only? So if you decide to add something else, you know, to that, maybe companies registrations, you know, for example, you know, and all the legal framework, you know, to set up organizations or things like that, and so that becomes another product, you know, in that sense. And then you think about another kind of service, you know, that becomes another product. So you can actually increase, you know, your product line. So when you have people coming in, you know, your customers, yes, so they can buy more than one product. And then, yes, you can now have maybe more customers, you know, coming in also. So that way, you can possibly have your revenue increasing.
This is very eye-opening because it reminds me of things I see even in supermarkets.
Absolutely.
Where, okay, so you've moved around, you've picked everything, then you get to that spot where you want to make payments. You still see the lady at the counter is displaying sweets, displaying. When you say you do not have change, they say, okay, just pick sweet. Yes. And even with or without the change. Yes. Those things get enticing, and you're like, okay, don't worry. Or maybe you, God helps, you're with your child at that time. And then the child says, oh, mommy, daddy, I want this. And you're like, oh, it seems that it seems something like this.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you know, it's interesting you use that example. So even that arrangement in itself, there is actually a science behind it. You know, so like, for example, you talked about if maybe you have a child, you know, child says, you know, this. So when you notice that at the point of sale, you know, when you're checking out, you know, you will see, you know, there are certain kinds of items, you know, that you will see. So just watch. If you watch most of the, let me say, upscale supermarkets or standard supermarkets, what you'll notice is that some of these items are almost about the same kinds of things. You know, there's actually a science behind it, even up to how you arrange the shelves.
Wow.
Yes, even up to how you arrange the shelves.
Something you can share with us.
So for example, so depends on what you are selling. So remember, we're talking about a supermarket item now. So most of the time, the things they want to move fast, you know, will be, for example, maybe within the eye level. Okay. So when I come and I'm walking, so people, you know, you have the average height of people, you know, it's there. Then for some items that they know that, so it depends on the supermarket what they want to do. So there are some items that they know that they must sell it, whether you don't even put it on the shelf. People will ask you, you know, where's this item, you know, so they can decide, you know, maybe to keep it elsewhere. But that the range of where the eyes are, what the eyes can see, it's important. So those items are arranged around there.
So what I want to move fast, stay at the top layer.
Stay at the eye level.
Eye level, where people can easily see.
Where they can easily see.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's huge. So one of those conversations that we recently had with entrepreneurs is on product creation, and I see that in summary, what you've helped us understand is number one, you can make sales through new customer acquisition, and then number two, how much of value are you giving to the existing customers? And I particularly like that second, value for existing customers. And one of those things we said at that conversation was product creation. How many of the possible products have you found from your existing line of capacity? Okay, so I'm an entrepreneur. Just you've given the example of, let's say we run a law firm that is into litigation. Now, have we been able to look inward to to see what else we can do, even
Absolutely.
to help our existing customers. So if I could just get into something that connects it very well for me. I know it said there was this story about what is this among many. Yeah, because that's just what it looks like.
Yeah.
That many people are trying to make sales, but they are not looking inward at those things that look like crumbs that they are not taking ownership of, and they are not packaging together
I agree with you.
to sell. So maybe you want to spend some time talking about the whole idea around discovering the crumbs within your business.
I think that so you now it's not such an easy task. I'm just trying to look for a better word, to use, because if it was easy, lots of people would evolve. But what I usually tell businesses, or what I tell people, is that at times you need to look out of your space. So if you are thinking of what you want to do, at times you need to look out of your space, all right, and then see what other people are doing. So when I say out of your space, so if we're talking about maybe a law firm, don't even look at a law firm. You can look at maybe some FMCG, for example. So I think one of the examples, I like to give people is Dettol. If you don't mind me calling the brand. So really and truly, you just need to have to find a way to think out of the box, kind of. Let me just use that term. I know it sounds cliche, but here it is. So when we're growing up, when you talk about Dettol, all right, you think about the liquid, in the bottle. You think about the liquid. I am trying to remember, how Dettol used to come then, whether it was in a glass bottle or in a plastic bottle. But let me just assume that it was in the same. It's always been a plastic bottle. But then they had Dettol, in different sizes. So it had different sizes up to the very small Dettol. But you know that Dettol also evolved. And then now you have Dettol soap. Now it's not even only one Dettol soap. So you have Dettol Cool. You have Dettol Fair Skin or Skin Care. You have Dettol even Tone. You have Dettol Energizer, and so on, and so forth. You even have Dettol, what do they call it? You have Dettol hand sanitizers. You have Dettol petroleum jelly. So, they could have chosen to remain in, where we do, liquid disinfectant. That when they saw an opportunity, they can do more. So, even if I look at Dettol, for example, as they are today, baby wipes. I'm not sure they have baby wipes yet. But if they choose to go into baby wipes, most likely they will also be successful.
They won't struggle.
Because they won't struggle here. Because for people who use baby wipes, you are thinking about something that is easy to use and also will keep the child or whatever you're wiping. You have that sense of hygiene. Dettol, they've already captured that niche that it's everything about hygiene. Let me put it that way. So the point is, in thinking about product, your product evolution, let me just use that term, you might need to look outside of what, your space to see what others are doing, and say, what else, can I do? So it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all, and I dare say that the task, talking about Dettol makes it look easy, but I know that it took Dettol some time, before they could even pivot. But for lots of businesses, I think that this is what we can do. So even in my business in diagnostics, for example, all right, those are some of the things that we look at. So when you look at the different sectors, you can see, it's the same principle, but just that it's applied in different ways. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. So I've heard people say majority of the clients that they have are a product of clients that have patronized them before.
Yes.
So in essence, for that to happen, that means that there is customer loyalty.
Yes.
How can a brand build customer loyalty? Customers are the ones going out there on the field.
Yes, I know. So we say customer is king. So when we talk about loyal customers, we're talking about customers who keep coming, and then if you think back again, why would somebody keep coming? All right. So it's maybe because they actually like your business, or because you are giving them an incentive, for them to keep coming back. So the first part, really and truly, people buy from who they like. So if you look at, if you take yourself, for example, we've talked about a supermarket, it's likely that there are some supermarkets you just like, you keep on going to buy things from.
I have an example. I have an example.
So you discover that why do you go there? Because, you like them, you like them, most likely you like them, all right? Your tailor, why do you go there? Most likely because you like them. Your barber, why do you go there? Because you like them, all right? So that means that for any business, you need to ensure, you need to find a way to delight your customers, to make them happy. So that means that you need to understand, what they are looking for, and make them like you. So that is one part of it. So there's also the part of, giving them a motivation. So which can be a motivation to come back or a motivation to like you. So because if each time I come to your shop, or each time I come to your office, I know that you're going to give me a pack of kilishi.
Wow.
Yes, I might want to keep coming back. So some businesses actually have, loyalty schemes, various kinds of loyalty schemes, so which will keep, it keeps someone, interested. So for example, you can, I think maybe like the most basic ones is where they give you maybe a loyalty card, or you get maybe points. When you buy up to a certain amount, you get points or something, right? And then you know that these points, at the end of the day, you are going to get a reward, so it keeps you coming back, kind of. So there are various kinds of loyalty schemes that you can look at. So for most businesses, it will be to look at what do you think will apply, to you. What kind of loyalty scheme do you think would make sense, to people and maybe applied. Yes, outlined.
Wow. So that also reminds me of one of those things that I usually would discuss with entrepreneurs, that when clients come, they sometimes don't even have an understanding of what they need. They may come with a thought of what they want.
Yes.
So let me give a practical example.
Okay.
So a client comes, says, "Hey, Tayo, I want to register my business." That's what usually happens. But in the real sense, what the clients want is not to register a business, but to operate a profitable business. That's it, in the real sense. So because you registered the business, okay, so what next? And we found that many entrepreneurs don't understand the concept of redefining the needs of their clients, such that they now become profitable at it. So let's say, okay, a client has come for business registration, but you understood that this client actually wants to not just register a business, wants to avoid anything with tax authorities, wants to avoid anything with any other agency that will put them in a mess, wants to run a profitable venture, wants to understand the legal framework. So you then begin to look at all of these things, redefine, and then this just seems to be one example of product creation. What do you think?
So now here's the thing. Yes, I see what you mean, and I totally agree with you. So in selling, okay, so I know that at times when we say selling, all right, there's that at times there's that mix, that confusion between selling and marketing.
Okay.
Because at times it depends on the industry where you are. Some industry will say salesmen, all right, while some people will say marketers. So but when we talk about selling, all right, we're talking about where there is that exchange of value. So I have something that is of value to me, so which is maybe my money. You know, you have something which is of value. You want to give me wisdom, all right? You want to give me wisdom. You want to give me counsel, for which I'm going to have to pay for it because it's something of value. So there's that exchange. So where that exchange, you know, is taking place, you know, we can say that selling, you know, has taken place. So I don't want to go into differentiation so that people will not be arguing, you know, but if you do sales and marketing, you know where sales actually fall in. So essentially, under marketing, so the marketing, we have what we call the 4 P's of marketing. So which marketing is the sum total of everything you do, you know, to make people, you know, be attracted, you know, to your brand and make your brand of choice, your brand their choice, you know, when they want to decide on that item, you know. So we have, under we have what we call traditionally the 4 P's of marketing. So there's a part of it that is called promotions. Okay, so, and that is, so when we say market, you know, I need to market your product, you know, most of the time, or market your service. Most of the time, what we're referring to is the promotion part of it. We won't say marketing, you know, but marketing is actually more comprehensive than that. So there's a part of marketing called promotion. And under promotion, we have what we call personal selling. So where maybe you have a product you want to sell. So maybe I sell this whiteboard marker. Okay, so this is my product and I want to sell it to you. All right, so that personal selling is where you have, you know, I come maybe in person, you know, to talk to you, and I want to sell this product to you. So in the example you gave, you know, you talked about, you know, understanding the person's need. Indeed, for people who do personal selling, where you have a physical interaction, most of the time, you know, we feel like, you know, it's the salesman that has to go out. So if I'm the salesman, we feel like maybe if I go out to come and meet you now to sell this whiteboard marker pen, you know, that this is the only time I'm selling. But when we also have, so for people who are even stationed in a shop and people coming, you know, they are also selling, which is the example you gave. It's also part of personal selling. Now, in order to be able to sell, you know, successfully this part of personal selling, there's the concept of understanding the need of the customer. If you don't understand the need of the customer, you know, you can't, we say understand the need of the customer, then you can sell a solution
to the customer.
So the person can come and say, I want this. And the temptation would have been to say, okay, you know, we do that and so on and so forth. But I'm sure you must have asked a couple of questions. Okay, why do you need this solution? You know, what do you have in mind? You know, what do you really have to achieve? And then based on his answers, you know, you've asked maybe a few more questions. And based on his answers, your assessment is that this is actually the solution that this person needs. All right? And then, so what would happen is that you understood the need, and then you have, you know, you've sold the solution, you know, to the person. In fact, you know, there is at times I tell people, you know, it's not a very popular opinion, but for me, I usually tell people that at times, even when you are not able to offer the service to that person, you know, when you move from the point of I just want to sell my product, you know, but you become a consultant. So you tell them, okay, this service I might not be able to offer it, but I use this. Why don't you go to A, you know, to have this kind of service, or you go to B, you can have this kind of option. So you move from just selling one product, you become a consultant, you know, to that person. I don't know, but for most of the people that I've dealt with, you know, in that manner, I've never lost them as customers. Wow. I've never lost them as customers.
So for us, we would say that what you are yet to master, consider your profit as part of the opportunity to do the job, either to do it or to facilitate it. So we would usually recommend that, look, build lesser if you mean, and because your learning is also part of the opportunity.
I agree with you. You are totally correct. The learning is this. There's a part of one's education. Let me just put it that way. Yes, very, very key.
So let's continue with the thought.
Yes. So that's it essentially. So you must understand the need. When you understand the need of your customer, then you can sell a solution, so because you know everything that you need to offer. So you look at the best, what will be the best, for this client.
So will I be right to say that entrepreneurs need to develop the mindset of physicians, the mindset of doctors, the mindset of
okay, why did you say that?
To listen and prescribe, and not
okay.
just to embrace. So it's like
Okay,
somebody comes around and says,
okay.
"Oh, give me paracetamol," and then you just rush, you give the paracetamol.
Yes.
Would you rather do that, or you want to listen and say, "Oh, how are you feeling? What do you want to achieve?" and all of that, and then you begin to prescribe. So maybe we should all actually be.
So what we you are totally correct. Listen and get all the stories, get the whole background, before you prescribe. Yes, I agree.
And then that brings me to something. You said earlier on that customers are king, and yes, I agree. To face the reality, there are times when customers are unhappy, and it just seems like one just lost out. Maybe a customer pulls out because he or she is not happy and all of that. Are there practical ways to deal with unhappy clients?
So these are my thoughts. There are different things that might make a customer unhappy. So it could be rational or irrational. Let me just put it that way. So there could be a rational reason. So for example, you have a deliverable and you have told the customer that, okay, by 12 noon today, Saturday, it will be ready. All right, and the customer comes in, by that time, or he calls you by that time, your phone is not reachable. He comes to your shop, for example, your office where you are, he can't find you, or something, So, clearly that is a rational reason, to be angry, or let's say you are sitting and then you get an alert on your phone, something you did not, you see a debit, for a transaction that you did not authorize, maybe from your bank. All right, you get, it's a cause for concern. All right, so you notice that when you call the customer care service, they try as much as possible to be very, very polite. Most of the time you are very agitated, you are very upset, you are very angry. And it's easy to think about this when we are at the giving end. So that means when we are the ones who have been offended, But when we are the ones who have done the offense, you're at the back, you'll be like, why should you be so angry, So you just have to calm down to understand, the client. At times, they just need to vent, let me put it that way. So that is even when, you can say that there's a rational reason. Or at times, some people can be irrational, all right? So maybe they want something, that is out of scope, for you. And then they get upset, they throw a tantrum, why you don't have that, or one reason, something that is, let me say, totally irrational. All right, so the temptation is, if the person is not buying from you, so he's coming, so you're hoping he wants to buy something, maybe he has bought something in the past. For the irrational client, you might be thinking in terms of, okay, what has this person done, can I afford to lose him or not? Maybe I should just tell him to, good riddance to bad rubbish, things like that. But you never can tell, So it's actually, what I would recommend is seek first to understand. So it's still like part of the selling thing. Try to understand, what the client, what is making the client, angry. Is it something that is rational? Is it something that is irrational? If it's something that is rational, there are times that, is this something that you could have avoided? Is this something that you could have handled better? So we can look at this like, it's negative, it's feedback actually. So you might look at it in terms of like, this is negative feedback, but you must deal with, so whether the feedback is nice, everybody wants to have nice feedback to say, yeah, Yetayo, you are doing well, Louis, you are doing well. But nobody wants to get negative feedback, So whatever kind of reaction you get from your client, take it as feedback. So it could be positive or it's negative. So in this case, it's a negative feedback. Take it positively, because perhaps it might be an opportunity for you to improve.
Yeah.
Yes,
so that create a new product.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So if you take it with that openness of mind, and the person comes, maybe it's angry, people don't even do this. Somebody will just look at all the way I trekked all the way from this to come here. You guys don't even have it, I mean, so annoying. Then what are you guys doing here? You can be thinking of, these people are so irrational. But yes, you are right. It might be an opportunity to create something new.
So, because I have an experience like that where this particular brand, and I'm not going to go deep into all of these things, but it got so messed up that we were calling them regarding regarding poor delivery, and so we usually just, now it's not a toll-free line, so we call, they advertise for 18, 20 minutes,
you are hanging,
and this is our own credit, not a free, not a toll-free.
Yes.
Now after all the adverts, nobody picks.
By then your anger would have fermented. Your anger would have fermented very well.
And then you call again, the same exercise. Maybe when somebody picks, the person just doesn't look interested.
Yes.
And then things just keep happening. And maybe later on, when you are done with them, you think you're done with them, they then come and, hello, just checking on you. You've not patronized us. This,
are you for real? You guys serious?
But it's good we're discussing areas where entrepreneurs, business owners can make improvement, because this happens to even the very best within the industry. So that we don't get to that phase where we are laid back and think that we are at the peak and we can't do any customer any wrong, because this whole thing just gets to happen over and again. I love the whole idea about embrace not just the positive feedback. Take the negative feedback as an opportunity to correct something. And you never can tell. It might just be an opportunity as well to create a new product.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic one. So there's this idea, this concept that people like to talk about so much, USP, unique selling point. And well, I'm also an advocate, and I would say that, look, your brand will be lost in competition if you do not discover what is unique to that brand. What distinguishes you in that industry? Is there a meeting point between customer loyalty and unique selling point when you are trying to build a business?
Okay, so I for most businesses, the key is, like you rightly said, is to find out your unique selling point or unique selling proposition, all right, which is what makes you stand out. Okay, and that point. So there is a part of what the customers want, what the customers would like to get, from you. And then there's a part of what you do really well. So the intersection between what you do very well, as a brand, and what customers really want to get, the service they want to get, that intersection, is where your unique selling proposition usually is. Unique selling.
I wish we have a board here.
Yes. Okay. So that is, so you have the point of where, so remember we said customers buy from who they like, they come because they really like you. So there are certain kinds of services that people would like to get, all right? So, and then there's the part that you do very well. So that intersection, it's where you just need to play and then to find out, what would work for you, what will stand out, for you. So for example, something very mundane, people can maybe like, maybe respect. I remember, one hotel, that we used to patronize, as an organization, somewhere on the island, I noticed something very interesting about the hotel. So whenever we had clients, and we go there, regardless the staff, they knew all their clients.
Wow.
All the people who were lodging in the hotel by name.
Wow.
So they
Wow.
were like, they'll call the person's
How is
name.
that?
And this person, I don't know how they do it.
Wow.
They'll be like, okay, you're looking for this person. Even the chef, the cook, the person, maybe the person, the waiter, like Cheryl, you do this or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm like, how is this possible? So they would have gone the extra length, to actually know their customers. So when you look at this, that way, it's how do you want to stand out? How do you want to differentiate yourself? So that tells a story that you maybe go the extra mile to make your clients, feel comfortable or feel welcome or feel at home, away from home. Let me just put it that way. Things like that. So you just need to look at that part. So when you find that point of congruence, it's what your customers like. That will be most likely what your customers like about you, because it resonates with some of the things that they like. So they like that about you. So they keep coming, and then yes, they are loyal customers.
Wow. Okay, so now again, I'm thinking to kind of get to understand how do you now maintain the balance between client satisfaction and profitability. Let me put it in another context, just an explanation. So some years back, I know there was this social media space that almost looked free, and everybody wanted to be on that space. Well, so everybody in the context of everybody I know wanted to be on that space. This space doesn't send out advertisement to anybody. You don't get unsolicited advertisement. You don't get anything. And all that the brand wanted to do was to create something that, even if possible, the first thing you look at in the morning is that space. And the last thing you look at before you go to bed is that space. And they built their brand around understanding customer satisfaction. Yet, there would also be the second concern about profitability. So how do you now create that balance between customer satisfaction on one hand and being profitable on the other hand? It's quite a deep thing.
Okay. So I have some thoughts about this, and I hope that it answers the question. So most of the time when you want to be profitable, all right, you give prices that you think are, let me say, reasonable, or prices that are competitive, or prices that are fairly decent, kind of. So you look at, so you see what are the others. Maybe you can check and see what are others, pricing, for this service. So it also depends. So for you, the cost of providing that kind of service, your cost of providing that kind of service might be more than what the cost of providing that service by competition. So what that means is that for competition, it's more profitable for them. Their profit margin is higher than yours, because for you, it's costing you more. So there is a part of trying to see how you can reduce your cost of producing that service. But beyond that, what I think is that we have what we call, if I remember, it's your pricing, maybe to look at, as opposed to just pricing, there's what we call value pricing. So people place a value on the service that you are giving. So let me just give a very simple example.
Okay.
All right. So let's say you are in a neighborhood, all right, and the cost of a haircut, standard haircut, everybody, they pay 1,000 naira, for a haircut, all right. So when they finish, giving the haircut, maybe what's the basic that they can do? Maybe they get maybe a cloth. So you see that the clippers, maybe they sterilize. It depends on how they sterilize. They can get maybe hot towels, things like that, and then clean your hair. You are fine. You are good to go. And then you see another barbing salon. All right, and this barbing salon, when you get your hair cut there, okay, they can decide to do the same with a little bit more. They make sure that you are well groomed, hair cream, for example, maybe on your hair, proper spray, okay. They can even decide to trim your nails. I'm just saying, for example, that kind of thing. That's what I'm getting to, and they bill you maybe 2.5, for it,
okay.
For that haircut. You might leave feeling like, okay, I got some extra value, So, but here's the thing, right? So the trick for who is adopting that kind of service is that you have to ensure that all the ancillary services you are adding, it still keeps you well afloat, even at that price you are charging, So for the person who is paying, he sees you as you are adding, more value, and his content, to pay slightly more, because he knows that he's going to get some extras, But for you, that is the business owner, you just have to ensure that these extras that you are adding, that the price that they are paying for it covers it, and it makes you, very profitable. So that way, you are not looking at just, the price, for that service. Let me put it that way. Of course, this to a large extent will happen majorly in what do they call it, in the service industry, but also in the products. At times it also happens. At times you might see some products. When you buy a product, you can come in with a biro or something. Exactly.
Just give an incentive.
So you feel like, okay, I'm getting slightly more, so I think I should take this brand because yes, when I buy it, I get something more.
True. True. I've seen a lot of that happen in supermarket before.
Yes.
Let's say where I'm doing shopping for the children, and then I say, okay, my intention was to buy toothpaste for them, but I saw one toothpaste came with toothbrush, and I was like, even though it's just for a little more, let me go for that. And before you know it, this is how sales happen. This is how sales happen as well. Very practical, very practical. Wow, it's been a great time that I lost count of time. I don't know how long we've gone on this. We can keep learning on and on and on. So I want to give you that free room to teach our listeners 2-3 things, broadly speaking, around this whole subject. What are 3 things you would love to share with our viewers on the whole idea around how to make sales and make your customers to come over and love?
Okay. So I think, so one is something I've said before, I just want to reiterate them. So people buy from who they like.
Okay.
So each time we deal with customers, we need to remember that these customers might have, most likely, not might, they have multiple options. So the challenge before us is that we must find a way to delight our customers, knowing that customers buy, from who, they like. And then another point is we must find a way to differentiate, right? We must find a way to differentiate. I mean, we talked about it, and we said, the point of congress between what you do well, because for most of the people, I mean, when you look at, I know that there are some services that are very close. So you'll be like, okay, how am I better, than this person? But that is actually where, the work is. All right, that is where the work is, to delve deeper and say, okay, what do my clients really want? What do they want? So I understand. So there's a place of really understanding, your customers, understand their behavior, why they do some things, understand them very well. And then so you can feel it's possible that there are some things that they like that you might not really have at that time, but it's within your power, to provide it. So what that means is that you won't say, this is the way I am, just take me, like that, So you might need to do some little investment, to build capacity,
Step out of your comfort.
Yes, so that you can do some certain things well that will delight, your client, because this is how you can keep them. And then the third thing I would say is that, don't be afraid to learn, and then look out, so you can see maybe what other industries are doing, what people are doing, and then hopefully your eyes will be opened, to see how you can copy and apply. So, that's why we say you are not really reinventing the wheel, So because somehow it's a concept, or that has happened, somehow before. So you can take that concept and you modify it, to suit your present reality and what you want to achieve. So that's about it.
Wow. Wow. It's been a wonderful one, and I hope viewers are having fun. Questions are going to come on. Feel free to send in your questions. We'll get everything right away to Mr. Louis, and he's going to also share his thoughts around that. I don't know if you'll be willing to share your email, social media handle.
I'm fine if it comes to you. Yes, you can forward it to me. It's not a problem at
all.
All
right,
yes.
All right.
But if you want to follow me on social media, my Twitter, it's Louis Ekome. Same on Facebook.
Okay.
Yes.
And LinkedIn?
LinkedIn also.
Okay. So there you have it, viewers. It's been fantastic. I know you have questions. I've asked my own questions, and I still have questions. Let's keep the conversation going. This is how you build capacity. This is how you make things happen, and this is how you contribute your quota to helping the society to be a better place for everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Mr. Louis. Thank you for the privilege of having you around to share your thoughts around the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
So
much
guys,
for having me.
do have for yourself a wonderful day, and remember to join us again tomorrow. We'll be having another session. Thank you.
Awesome.